Shalom guys, again we're here with a quick reading of Joshua, Jesus' words. We're going to keep listening to what he has said, and we're going to focus on the book of Mark for now, and then we will go into the other gospels and listen to what our Messiah, the anointed one, had to say. Okay, so let's go. Last week we left off in Mark chapter 1 verse 39, if I'm not mistaken. So we will keep on and pick up on verse 40. So chapter 1 verse 40, and we're going to read, and it says the following: And a leper came to Jesus, beseeching him and falling on his knees before him and saying, If you are willing, you can make me clean. Moved with compassion, Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him and said to him, I am willing, be cleansed. Now, this is very interesting because, one, in the Torah, right, which is the foundation of the community and the people of Israel at the moment that this is happening in Jesus' time, it states that, especially in Jesus' time, the Pharisees and the leaders believed that a leper, a man with leprosy, was something that was a curse from God, right? This man was cursed, and nobody can even, like, the wind will blow on them, and you had to be away from them because somehow, some way, by the wind blowing and them being near you, it could infect you too. It will yell, unclean, unclean, as they walk by. And so this male that was in leprosy, the fun fact is that approximately 800 years had passed since the last leper was healed, and that was Naaman, which is an Assyrian, which was not part of the tribe of Israel. And what is interesting is that the person in the Torah that can be unclean from another person, besides a death corpse contamination or anything like that, the only way you will be contaminated by another person was if they had leprosy and you touched them. Now, Yeshua is understood that he touched them and healed them. But if Yeshua touches them and heals them, that means that Yeshua ritually has contaminated himself. That's something that youth, ask your parents, and hopefully they're able to explain to you why. Okay? Now, let's keep reading. Immediately, the leprosy left him. He was cleansed. And he sternly warned him and immediately sent him away. And he said to him, See that you say nothing to anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer for your cleansing what Moses commanded as a testimony to them. But he went out and began to proclaim it freely and to spread the news around to such an extent that Jesus could no longer publicly enter the city, but stayed out in unpopulated areas, and they were coming to him from everywhere. So now this is the turning point in Yeshua's story, in Jesus' time. Because he's been healing, right? We understood last week that he's been healing. He's been raising people from the dead. And so he's been doing all these miracles. He has called himself the Son of Man, the Son of God. Now, there's something very interesting. He says that now go, he warns them, don't sin no more. And he also tells them, go and offer what Moses commanded. Which is interesting because Moses, in the book of Deuteronomy, says that there will be one that will come that will be like him, like Moses. A prophet like Moses. And here, Yeshua, him being the Son of God, him being the Son of Man, says, instead of just saying, okay, you're cleansed, you're all good, he says, go, offer the commandment. Remember, sacrifices, the offering. Another question that the youth should ask your parents right now. Like, Alejandro, I want you to ask your dad, Luis, to tell you where does it establish the offering for the leper. You got this. Now, another point is that there is a specific steps that the priests and the leaders, especially the Levitical priesthood and the high priesthood, had to take when there was a leprosy in the camp and in the vicinity of the temple. That man had to go and follow a procedure in the temple. He was supposed to be kept away. So there's a lot of questions that transpire of how the leadership was functioning in this time. Okay, let's keep reading. Chapter 2 says the following: When he had come back to Capernaum several days afterwards, it was heard that he was at home, and many were gathered together so that there was no longer room, not even near the door, And he was speaking the word to them. I'm curious of what word he was speaking. And they came bringing to him a paralytic, carried by 4 men. Being unable to get to him because of a crowd, they removed the roof above him, and when they had dug an opening, they let down a pallet. The paralytic was lying. And Jesus, seeing their faith, said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." But some of the scribes were sitting there and reasoning in their hearts, why does this man speak that way? He's blaspheming. Who can forgive sin but God alone? Immediately, Yeshua, aware in his spirit that they were reasoning that way within themselves, said to them, "Why are you reasoning about these things in your hearts? Which is easier, to say to the paralytic, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up and pick up your pallet and walk'? But so you may know that the Son of Man has authority on the earth to forgive sins." He said to the paralytic, "I say to you, get up and pick up your pallet and go home." And he got up and immediately picked up the pallet and went out in the sight of everyone, so that they were all amazed and were glorifying God, saying, "We have never seen anything like this." And we went out again by the seashore, and all the people were coming to him, and he was teaching. So Yeshua is opening the eyes to the people, right? There was a balance that needed to be made in this time, where in Elohim's graft, there is mercy, justice, righteousness, kindness. And so the people, the leaders of the time, even though they were very corrupt, they were focusing on the righteousness, everything by the book. And they were forgetting about the justice, the mercy, and the kindness. They were not finding that balance. Yeshua himself was demonstrating to the people that, yes, there's righteousness to Elohim, but there's kindness, there's justice, there's mercy. 800 years had to go by for a leper to be healed, for demons to be casted out, for a paralytic to be lifted up. Yeshua himself is teaching us something very, very simple. And he said both of them. One said by faith, and the other one said humbly, if you're willing. And Yeshua himself said, "I am willing." And he healed them. We have to find the balance. There's justice, there's righteousness. We have to be kind, and we have to be merciful with those that we have to be merciful. We have to represent Elohim and do our best to embody that. That's what Yeshua did, and we are able to do that. We're able to represent his Father and represent our King the best way that we can. So we're going to stop there. Homework, like I said, where in Leviticus you find the offerings for the leprosy, the cleansing, and that's what we have. So with that being said, have a great week. Shalom.